Hi everyone! Remember on Monday when we learned about honeybees and we visited a honeybee hive? Well, today I'm going to read this book to you, and Carl is back and he's going to tell us more about honeybees and beekeepers. So this book is called Bees, A Honeyed History. Anatomy of a honeybee. Did you know that there's 3 kinds of honeybees? Carl, what does a queen bee do?
So you can see here, the queen is much bigger than the drone and the worker bee. This is because she needs to be able to stick her abdomen very far down into the cells in order to lay the eggs. Then the smallest bees are the worker bees. They're appropriately sized so that they can go inside the cells and deposit honey or pollen, or to take care of the larva, which the queen bee lays. And then the drone is basically there just to hang out. They don't really do much.
Interesting. Queen of the hive. So the queen has a lot of responsibility. And here's a picture, a drawing of a queen. And so what kind of bees would these be?
So these are all the worker bees. So whenever the queen is walking around the hive, she has all these worker bees there to take care of her. And so they clean up the hive, they feed her, they groom her. And all she does is go around and stick her abdomen down in the very bottom of the cells and lay a bunch of eggs. And then the worker bees will come around and they'll feed those eggs once they hatch into larvae. They'll feed them a mixture of pollen and honey, and then they grow, and then they pupate, and then eventually they hatch.
Did you know that honeybees do a special dance called the Waggle Dance? So this round dance tells the forager bees that there are flowers nearby. The greater the distance from the hive to the flowers, the more the bee waggles during the dance, which follows a figure 8. The waggle dance tells the forager bees how far away the flowers are and in what direction to fly. So here's some drawings of what it looks like when bees do the waggle dance. And Carl, do people usually see bees do the waggle dance?
You won't unless you open up the hive. So they'll do this dance on the frame, on top of the cells. And so they'll do this inside the hive so that they can tell all the other bees that are at home in the hive where to find the flowers.
Plants have 2 main goals. The first is to grow, and the second is to make seeds that will become new plants. Most plants produce their seeds inside fruit, which are in turn produced by flowers that have been pollinated. So guess who helps flowers pollinate? Honeybees. And not only do bees provide us with honey, but they can also help us grow lots of other delicious foods. Did you know that some of these foods cannot be grown without the help of honeybees? Carl, which ones can't be even grown without honeybees?
So honeybees are needed so that apples, pears, plums, cherries, and watermelons can grow, and so that we can eat them.
So we have to take care of honeybees so that we can have our delicious food. There's lots of animals that are pollinators. Here are some of them. Carl, what are some pollinators we might see around our yard?
So you might see some ladybugs or some butterflies or some moths. And if you're really patient, you might be able to see a hummingbird. But then there's also weird things like bats that pollinate flowers, usually at night.
So keep your eyes open to see if you see any pollinator friends. Oh, this picture is all about the beehive. Remember we saw this on Monday? Carl, can you remind us what is inside the beehive?
So this is the main hive, and then we were looking at the frames. So these are all the frames, and those go inside the hive. And that's what it looked like when we saw it all closed up in the other video.
a beekeeper's equipment. So we saw some of these things in real life on Monday.
We saw the smoker, we saw the suit, we saw the gloves, and then there's the frame, and there's another frame, and the gloves.
And what is this? We didn't see that.
So this is the extractor. So when we have a frame that's all filled up with honey, we cut the cap off the honey, off the comb, and we put it in here, and when you turn that crank, it spins all the frames very quickly, and it pulls all the honey out of the cells. And then it drains out the bottom, and we filter it, and the honey's ready to go.
Beekeepers at Work. A beekeeper's job involves more than just scooping up the bees' honey. Beekeepers are quite devoted caregivers. So, Carl, is it easy to be a beekeeper?
No, it's not. It's a lot of work. When the bees fill up all the frames, one of these boxes can weigh over 100 pounds. And so if you have a bunch of them stacked up on top of each other, that's a lot of weight. And in order to make sure your bees are nice and healthy, you have to take all of that apart and take all the frames out and make sure that your bees are nice and healthy. So each time you check on a hive, it's a lot of work. And you can see the beekeeper here taking the hive apart and taking a look at a frame with his smoker so that the bees stay nice and calm. And he's just making sure that all the bees and all the honey is nice and healthy in there.
So that was a little bit more about honeybees. And maybe if you are outside in your yard, you can see if you see any honeybees. Honeybees are usually kind of small, right? And do they have a little bit of fur on them?
Yeah, they're a little bit fuzzy. They have a striped abdomen, and they're usually pretty gentle. So if you stay still, they'll fly around and they'll go visit another flower.
So look in your backyard and see if you see any honeybees, and then you can tell me next time I see you. I'll see you later. Bye.